Today's video was brought to you by StoryboardThat.com. Please visit TeacherCast.net/StoryboardThat for a limited time offer. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast App Spotlight. You are listening to the podcast that brings you the best in educational technology right from the app developers themselves. I'm thrilled today that you've decided to make TeacherCast your home for your professional development. My name is Jeff Bradbury, and if this is the first time you're listening to the show, thank you so much for joining us today. We have an amazing show for you. You can, of course, contact us and participate in this show each and every week by leaving us a voicemail at teachercast.net/voicemail, emailing us at feedback@teachercast.net, following us on Twitter at TeacherCast, and of course subscribing to our many audio and video channels over at teachercast.net/iTunes and teachercast.net/YouTube. My guests today are on a mission to help students all around the world become better readers and better writers. They have created an amazing system for both your desktop and mobile technologies that'll completely amaze you and potentially change the way you teach your language arts skills. A few weeks ago, we did an episode on the Tech Educator podcast where my co-host and I each took turns sharing our favorite Google add-ons. One of these segments completely took us for a surprise, and we posted the video separately from the main show, and because of that, we started receiving several awesome tweets and comments about it, and I'm thrilled today to have the creators of that great Google add-on with us today. It is a pleasure to introduce you to Mr. Jason Carroll and Mr. Martin McKay from the great company called TextHelp to speak with us about all their amazing applications called Read and Write. Jason and Martin, welcome to the program. How are you today?
Great, Jeff. Thank you very much. It's great to get a chance to speak with you.
Thank you so much for coming on. Talk to us a little bit about TextHelp and what Read and Write is.
TextHelp, at TextHelp, we're a software company. We make tools to help kids in special education and kids who have English as their second language. And we've been doing it for a very long time. We've been doing it for almost 20 years, actually. We've got Windows software and Mac software. But over the past couple of years, we got asked by lots of teachers to help them with tools that they could use on Google Chromebooks. Chromebooks have been growing like crazy in education, and so about 18 months ago we started development work on this tool called Read and Write for Google, and it's kind of the Swiss Army knife for special ed. It's got text-to-speech, word prediction, talking dictionaries, picture dictionaries, speech-to-text, vocabulary tools, lots and lots of cool tools. Jason's going to show you some of them in a little moment, and you can use them on in your Chrome browser or on your Chromebook. And we've also got a bunch of other tools that will work on iPads. But today, because we've had so much interest in the Google stuff, we want to show you some of the Google stuff today.
Jason, talk to us a little bit about Read and Write for Google. I mean, this is a Google add-on, which means any teacher that's in the Google Apps for Education suite has access to it, and they can get to that simply by clicking on their add-ons buttons, and we can show them how all that works a little bit later. But talk to us about the power of what using Google and Read and Write can do for a classroom.
Oh, yeah. Well, it really does change things. I mean, if you think about it, about 2/3 of students in the U.S. will score below proficiency in reading. And that's not a special ed thing, that's an all students thing. And what's going on are loads and loads of school districts are moving over to the Google environment, and all the tools that they may have had for Macs and PCs in the past, whenever you start using Google Apps for Education and Chromebooks, a lot of those tools may not be available anymore. So as Martin said, so Martin's over in Ireland at our Northern Ireland, our main office there. So he refers to himself as the chief geek over there. So he kind of saw this, kind of opening for Google and thought it'd be good to start developing tools there. So all those struggling readers and writers that you referred to, this gives them access in the Google environment that otherwise they may not have.
And of course, Google, and as you said, more and more schools are going Google. More and more teachers are becoming Google proficient. And so when you get to that certain level of Google proficiency, you're looking for more. And you're looking for ways to help students. And the one thing I noticed very quickly about Read and Write is that it's not reading and writing second grade, first grade, where I'm learning how to read. This is stuff that you can use in elementary school, in middle school, and I found a lot of good applications that we can use it for in the high school grades.
Yeah, that's a really important thing. There are kind of two phases to reading. There's learning to read and then reading to learn. And actually, if you've got time today, we're going to show you another thing called Fluency Tutor for Google, which is aimed at the learning to read phase. But Read and Write Gold, or Read and Write for Google, is aimed at the reading to learn stage. So it can help to deliver fluency, but it's really to help kids consume content that they would otherwise be unable to read. As Jason's saying, about 40% of kids are reading are 2 grades below their grade level. So if you give them, a social studies book, half the class are going to not be able to consume it on grade level. Whereas if you send them home with an ebook, they've got access to a Chromebook or a Chrome browser at home. They can use our tools to read the book out loud. Any words they don't understand, they can listen to a talking dictionary definition or see a picture dictionary. So, it's really about really empowering kids to have access to the content for themselves, and particularly in this kind of flipped classroom environment where where teachers are working kind of one-on-one in the classroom and then sending kids off to do a lot more independent work at home. Then the tools allow kids to practice reading and to help them write independently and write a lot more.
And that is one of those neat things about those Google add-ons, is that it's not a teacher thing, right? I mean, the students can add this onto their account, and so it doesn't matter if you're in the classroom or out of the classroom. There's a way to use this and for the students to take control of their own learning. So we are going to show you a little bit about Read and Write for Google as an add-on, and we're also going to talk about Fluency Tutor. Now, you guys said that there is a free version of this and then there's a premium version of it, and we want to give you guys an opportunity to experience that premium version. So when you stick around for the end of the show, we're going to offer you a limited time offer to take advantage of that premium feature. So please stick around with us for the end. Guys, why don't you show us a little bit about what Read and Write for Google Apps is, and show us how it works.
Cool. Okay, thanks, Jeff. So basically, if you're taking a look at this, we're in just a standard Google document, and this may be some text. Actually, this is just some text from Wikipedia that we pulled out, but it may be the case that you've got some text. Students need to go and now consume that text and maybe write about it and all those sort of things. So I'm just in a standard Google Doc, and kind of the special thing now that I have that makes Read and Write unique is that there's a little tab here at the top of the screen. And you'd mentioned before about this being so simple, and you can use it at home or at school or wherever you may be. In the past, you'd have huge software programs that were 2 gigabytes or larger. They take forever to install. They would only be allowed at school. So this really changes things when you're dealing with Google Apps and extensions. So I have this tab at the top of my screen, and when I click on it, you'll see that it just gives me several tools on a toolbar. So the most basic thing here is if I'm a struggling reader or I just would like this read aloud to me, I can go up and click the play button.
Earth is the 3rd planet from the Sun and the densest planet in the solar system.
So you'll see I'll hit stop there real quick, but the most basic thing it does is it'll read anything aloud to you, and it does it using alternate highlighting, which I won't go into all the details, but that's a very important component of text-to-speech. So every icon up here represents a tool. And how do you get these tools? How do you get this toolbar? It couldn't be easier. You're familiar with Chrome. You're probably familiar with the Chrome Web Store. So I'll just switch over to that tab. And here in the Chrome Web Store, you can just type in text help. And when I type in text help, it'll run a quick search. And here it shows Fluency Tutor, which we mentioned that I'll briefly talk on in a moment. Under apps and then extensions, you have Read and Write for Google. You install Read and Write for Google, accept the permission, go and open a Google Doc, and now you're going to have your new toolbar in the Google document. So I showed you the most basic thing being that you hit the play button and it reads it out loud. You can hit the stop button, it'll stop it. The pause button will pause it. But there are tons of other tools that are included here. For example, if I wanted a definition of a word, I can highlight the word, I can click on the dictionary, and even click the definition.
The planet that we live on.
to have that read aloud. Now there may be a little bit of delay because of kind of the video conference here, but I think you'll see that it'll easily read the definition aloud. If I need an image of that, which can be useful for all sorts of students or English language learners, we use pictures from the widget symbol library. So I can highlight a word, click the picture dictionary, and now we see picture supports that go along with that. On top of that, if you're getting into writing, for example, I can just enter a space here, and we have a very advanced word prediction component that I can turn on. So, your phones and things like that have word completion. This is more of word prediction, so that if I were to go and there's the word the, I can click that, it'll predict a word ahead for me. If I don't like the words that it's predicting, I can type a letter, and that'll switch the words that it's predicting for me. This is useful for tons of students, whether it be that they're English language learners, so have a hard time with the English language, poor spellers, emerging writers, young writers, tons of different students that word prediction can assist with. So you'll see there's some basic reading and writing tools available. And then there are also research and study supports we have built in as well. So you'll see we have some highlighting tools here. I could go through and highlight complete sentences or entire paragraphs if I would like to. Just going to start by highlighting a few words as an example. So here's Earth and planet. Doesn't matter what color that you use here, just kind of showing you some different ones. Terrestrial. So you can highlight these words. I could have highlighted a few sentences. For example, main idea in one color, supporting detail in another, or something like that. And you can click the Collect Highlights button, and that'll simply ask you which colors you would like to collect, and it'll pull those highlights out into a new document for you, and even tell you, where you got those highlights from to start with. So that's one really useful feature. But here, the reason I chose to just highlight a few individual words is because there is also a vocabulary list builder. So if you spend much time on vocabulary in the classroom, you'll really appreciate this. You'll see there's a little box that popped up at the far right there that says vocabulary list, and it's creating me a vocabulary list. And what that's going to do is open up in a new Google Doc, and you see it gives you the word, it gives you the meaning, it gives you the symbol that goes along with it, and an editable notes area. Of course, you can always change this. It is editable. Use in a sentence, for example, and you can easily share this doc with students, or have students create the doc in the first place, right? And use that for vocabulary support. Now we're continually expanding this. People ask for things all the time. We have a Google community. It's Text Helps Google for Education community that you can find, and we're always asking for feedback. And the most recent feedback where people wanted a way to do speech input in the Google Docs, and we thought that Google was going to actually have that available, but it never did happen. So now you'll see a speech input icon. So if you just have a mic handy, you can use the speech input feature and speak, and then whatever you speak, it will type that for you. So we're very responsive to feedback, and always trying to add things to the set of tools here. Now, what you've seen, this is all in a Google Doc, but we know that kids do more than just hang out in Google Docs. So in addition to what I've showed you here, we have the same set of tools that if you're on the web that you can use. Same sort of tools that for example, if you're on a PDF, I have a PDF file open here as well. So you can see we have a set of tools here at the top, and I can just simply click.
In schools across the United States, physical education.
So you see it can read from PDF files as well. You can highlight words, and it'll let you make your highlights and build your vocabulary lists and use your picture dictionary and all those sort of things. So our goal here is to not only make it for Google Docs, but help wherever a student's going to be, whether that be Google Documents, websites, PDFs, EPUB files. Actually, the most recent thing we've done, which is really interesting, or at least I think it's really interesting. I kind of like to nerd out on some of these things as well. If I go over to my Google Drive, part of the problem that we see is our tools work great when you have accessible content, meaning content that is already digital. But a lot of times you're in classrooms and there are worksheets and books that are not available in a digital format and those sort of things. So especially if you're using Google Apps for Education, it becomes difficult to make those files that may be paper-based accessible. So we just recently released something called SnapVerter. And the idea behind SnapVerter is it will make those files accessible. So if I go over to Google Drive if you install SnapVerter, again from the Chrome Web Store, just typing in SnapVerter, you'll see what it does is it'll add a little folder into my drive. And it couldn't be easier to use. You can snap a picture with your iPhone or Android device. You can take an inaccessible PDF file that you may have created with a copy machine or scanner, and you just drop it where it says drop files here to convert. Go and grab a cup of coffee and come back in a couple of minutes, and in your finished folder, you will find, here's just a couple that I've already dropped in. Here's a picture of a book. So this is just a book that was snapped with a camera. If you take a look at it, you can actually see here's a mouse over here to the side, and there's a phone holding it flat. And again, this is just in our PDF reader here.
My mother loved strawberry molds. It was always a thrill for me to draw.
So again, we're all about making that content accessible for students that may have a tough time making sense out of it. I know we're on a limited time here, so what I've showed you is read and write for Google, and I think Jeff will be putting up some more information on that. And you'll see you can get it from the Chrome Web Store, and I've already mentioned the file types that it work with. Martin had mentioned earlier on that you've got learning to read and then reading to learn, and what we find is a lot of students really start to struggle whenever they get to the reading to learn part because they haven't learned to read completely yet. So we are starting to create some things for the learning to read side of things as well. You may have saw in the Chrome Web Store a moment ago when I typed in text help. Another thing here is Fluency Tutor. And the idea of Fluency Tutor for Google is that it's going to help those emerging readers or struggling readers by sharing reading passages with them that they can use our tools with and read out loud and listen to themselves read and all that. So I just wanted to quickly show that because at the end here, I think Jeff's going to put up a link, or we're going to provide you with some information there. Because the way this works, similar to Read and Write for Google, Read and Write for Google is free for 30 days. And then after 30 days, the text-to-speech, so the read aloud supports for websites and for Google Docs, that stays free forever. And then the other things are premium. And now if you're a teacher, you get everything. You get all Read and Write for Google for free if you're an educator. Fluency Tutor is the same way. It's on a freemium model. So you'll see that when you install Fluency Tutor, you're taken to a dashboard, and it's just called My Dashboard. Now, it's going to look a little different for you because I've got recent activity and recent shares and all those sort of things. You're not going to have that as soon as you install it. But what you can basically do with Fluency Tutor is you can share reading passages. And we've got around 700 reading passages available. And you'll see that they vary based on reading age and Lexile level. So you don't have to go through all of our passages to find that. You can filter it. So let's say that I'm looking for reading passages between a 700 and 750 Lexile level, or you can look at the kind of the grade level there as well. And you can apply filters, and you find reading passages that make sense to you. You can click a couple of them and share those passages. And the great thing about Fluency Tutor for Google is it integrates into your Google Apps account, so that whenever you start sharing passages, you're going to see here in just a moment, that this share box looks just like if I'm sharing a Google document or a spreadsheet. So I can just start to type names of students that's already going to populate for me. I'll just share these with Martin, and I could add a note and hit send, and he's going to find these in his Google Drive account in the incoming folder, just like if I'd shared a Google document with him. He'll also get an email. And when you open a passage up, here's Niagara Falls, you'll see all these tools, the play, the dictionary, picture dictionary, all these things that I mentioned before that students can use to help make that content more accessible and make sure they understand it. And then when they're ready, they simply click the record button, and they can say start recording and begin reading the passage. And when they're finished reading the passage, they're recording of that, which they can listen to and re-record if they would like. But then that's automatically shared back with the teacher. So the teacher can continuously monitor how the student's doing and listen to him, he or she, and all those sorts of things. So just to give you, again, that high-level overview of what that would look like, is once you share passages, you can, you kind of see recent activity. It says Martin had finished reading this story called Chewing Gum. And so I can always go and view all my students. I'll find Martin's account here. Martin, you're kind of on the decline. You may need to step
Yeah,
up.
I really must improve. I got to try harder.
Yeah, so we're going to have to share more passages with Martin. I think it's his accent is what does it to him.
Yeah, I think people score me for mispronunciation.
so, so I'll go back over it, and this just shows, here's the chewing gum passage. The other was cave paintings, and what's really interesting is, and I know I'm going through this fast, but what's really interesting is that you can go through and I can see all the words that Martin looked up in the dictionary, or that he looked up in the picture dictionary, or that he used a translator for, and everything that I've showed so far is the free part of Fluency Tutor, where the premium approach starts is if you want to actually go and score these recordings. So I'll just go into Martin's review this recording here, and you can see you can go through and listen to Martin's recording, and as he's reading, I can just hit the play button to let his reading play here, and as he's reading, you can go through and mark if he made a mispronunciation or a hesitation or an omission, and when it does that, it'll automatically calculate his scores. So that we can track progress over time. So this part is the premium piece, the kind of scoring, so you can get student data, and that's the part that we'll provide a link here at the end, because currently you can try that free for 30 days, but listeners of your show through November the 9th, I know we're going to date ourselves here, but through November the 9th, if they can hop on before then and fill out the form, they can get Fluency Tutor for Google free for an entire year. So hopefully that'll be beneficial to some of your listeners there.
That's pretty amazing. And I got to tell you, looking through this stuff, clearly when we did the show, we didn't get into this much detail with everything. But this is two amazing pieces of software applications that students are going to be able to use and absolutely gobble up and learn from. This is really, really neat stuff.
Yeah, hey, well, we appreciate you giving us the time to show these. Martin can speak more to the growth from when we started. I don't think we ever realized how popular the whole Google environment was, but Martin can probably speak more to that.
Yeah, Jason, you're right. This thing has grown way faster than we had planned. When we started doing this, we didn't know if there was going to be much demand for this, and we decided to experiment with a freemium, business model. And the idea behind freemium is you give people something that they really are going to use every day, and you have to be truly generous. And so we decided to give away the speech tools to allow kids to read Google Docs and web pages and so on. And then, once they use it for a while, and teachers get to know that our software is good and they trust us and it's reliable and it works well, then lots more people decide to try the premium features. And when we were organizing this, I thought we had about 600,000 users, and I just checked today before the Hangout, and we've got 750,000 users now.
That is amazing.
It's a crazy thing, and we've got 6 times as many users as we had last year. So it's growing really, really quickly. We're pretty excited about it.
Well, if you are out there watching this and you are a user, or if you're becoming a user, we definitely want to hear about it. Again, reach out to us on our Twitter account at TEACHERCAST. And where can we reach Text Help on Twitter?
Yeah, so, it's actually at Text Help US. So I was just seeing there it says at Text Help on the screen, but it's at Text Help US.
Excellent.
And they can definitely, we'll be very responsive to that for sure.
Excellent. Guys, one more time, where can we take advantage of that premium offer? Give us that information one more time.
So we just got a little Google form, and you can fill in your Google form. And I think, Jeff, if we're going to put it at teachercast.net/texthelp, and people are going to be able to get to fill in the form from there. And if they fill in the form, before kind of mid-November 14. We'll make sure that they get a free year of premium access.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Where do you see the future of Read and Write? I know that you had said earlier, Jason, that you're very, very user-friendly and always asking people for advice and where can you guys go next. But could you give us a little taste? What are we looking for maybe as 2015 comes together?
Yeah, Mark's definitely going to be the best one to answer that one.
So we've got some interesting plans. So you're going to see some very, very cool new products going on iPad and Android tablet. And we've got a really exciting new. We're inspired by Google, And the guys at Google don't try to make things 5 times better or 5% better. They try to make things 10 times better. And so we've got a research project going on with word prediction, which we think can really revolutionize writing with computers, and we aim to make it available to everyone who's using Google in education.
Well, guys, certainly continued success with everything. And I got to say one more time, this is an amazing, amazing extension and add-on for your Google, especially if you're teaching in a Google Apps for Education. I know with myself, I'm looking at this going, I got 3 kids at home that I'm going to be teaching how to read. This is an amazing, amazing tool that anybody can use, whether you're a 3-year-old or a senior in high school. This is definitely good. Certainly out there, check out Read Write for Google. And, of course, you can find out all their great information over at texthelp.com. And take advantage of that premium offer there. We'll certainly set it up as teachercast.net/texthelp, and we will certainly make sure that you guys get your stuff there. Thank you guys so much for coming on, and please invite yourself on to another one of our programs in the future.
Thank you very much for your time. It's great to be on your show. It's a brilliant show. Thank you.
Well, my friends, that wraps up another episode of the TeacherCast App Spotlight. I want to thank again our friends from TextHelp.com for coming on our show and sharing their great Google applications with us today. There's, of course, many ways that you can connect with our show and possibly be a guest on the program as well. You can leave us a voicemail at teachercast.net/voicemail, email us at feedback@teachercast.net, follow us on Twitter @TeacherCast, and, of course, subscribe to this and all of our TeacherCast programs over at teachercast.net/iTunes and teachercast.net/YouTube. And, of course, thank you for allowing TeacherCast to be a part of your professional development network, and I hope you take a moment to share TeacherCast with your PLN. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Please join me each Sunday night at 7 o'clock live on TeacherCast.tv for the Tech Educator Podcast, your weekly webinar. And while you're over there, don't forget to sign up for our mailing list. Until next time, please keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students.